Hi everyone, welcome back. I'm Moa, aka Swedish Whiskey Girl, and today is my 2-year anniversary with my own brand. And to celebrate, I thought it would be fitting to, of course, do the emulsion, which is the other video I have released today, but also to do this one here. Because a few days ago I got a personal delivery, which I wasn't expecting at all, from a dear friend, so thank you Alex, and of course thank you Bill, of course, as well, because I got these two. So it's the Ardbeg Blaack and the Ardbeg Wee Beastie, and I've of course been super excited to try these, so that's what we're gonna do today. I'm gonna start with the black because I'm suspecting that the Wee Beastie will be slightly smokier, so don't want that to overpower my taste buds straight away. And of course the Ardbeg Blaack is this year's Ardbeg Day release, and it's been matured on New Zealand Pinot Noir red wine casks, so very exciting. I have dear memories of the Ardbeg Grooves they released a few years ago, which is probably, is it my favourite Ardbeg to date? I think it might have been, because the committee release Grooves was just so stunning, it just wowed me so much, and that was wine cask as well, so I'm definitely looking forward to trying this one as well. And of course it's called the Black with about, is it 3 A's or 4? Because it's a bit of a homage to that New Zealand's an island where the sheep outnumber the locals by 7 to 1. So it's an homage to saying that you're seeing black like sheep. I don't know if I can do it, so I don't really want to, but it's like black. What was that? Cringy. Sorry about that, let's move on. And this bottle also sits at 46% ABV, because they do release 2 different ones, the committee release, and then they also release this other one for like the public. So first the committee release is released in March, and then the kind of more standard one is released on Ardbeg Day, the 30th of May. So that's the one that we have here, the one that sits at 46% ABV, because the committee release is cask strength. But let's have a little nose. It's definitely that Ardbeg smoke, but it's almost a bit, I don't know if I'm saying this because I get a bit peat blind, but it feels almost a little bit tuned down. But definitely a darker influence. And like a wine fruitiness, so maybe that kind of dark cherries note. There's more of a fruity sweetness in this. But the Ardbeg smoke's just like a big bonfire. I always feel like it's very calming when I nose an Ardbeg, but that might be because I really like it. Yeah, this kind of dark fruity notes along with that big smoke. It's definitely there, but I think compared to something like a bourbon cask Ardbeg, this is slightly tuned down. But of course, if you have, for example, a refill bourbon cask, or a cask that is slightly less active than a first fill, or virgin oak of course, or a second fill, then the more you take away the oak character, the more you can kind of let the smoke be alive, if that makes sense. But let's have a little taste on this, Slangeva. It's so fresh. Fresher than I remember. Then it has like a weird bitterness on the finish. What is that? This is so interesting with tasting notes. When you find something and you know it's like in the flavor category of bitter, but I can't identify what bitterness it is. Is it a coffee bitterness? Is it a tea bitterness? Is it a... I think it's almost like when you have like blackberries or blueberries that is slightly underripe, they can be slightly bitter. So it's not a big bitterness at all, it's just a slight kind of lingering bitterness on the finish. And I think that's what it's like, a dark berry bitterness. Sometimes it just helps to say all the things it's not to get to the thing that you think it is. But very fresh. And I might be a little bit peat blind, but it's overwhelmingly fruity. So the first thing that happens is you get this big dark fruitiness, so a bit like plums and dark cherries and like berries, like blackberries. But it's more like if you have really ripe blackberries and you tone that down slightly, that's the note you're getting. And then the smoke kind of comes in, like it just creeps up on you, which is lovely because you are greeted with this big fruitiness, and then the smoke just kind of creeps up on you, that Ardbeg smoke, and just lingers with you on the finish, which is lovely. There's a slight floral note as well, almost like juniper, like a juniper bush. And a bit of oakiness. I was looking for a bit of salt, but I don't think it has a lot of salt. Maybe a slight hint on the finish. And not a lot of spice either. It's very kind of smooth on your tongue, even though you get the smoke. Because to me, usually smoke isn't a rough feeling on the tongue. It's just a big flavour that you usually get, of course, in peated whiskies. But if the smoke is alongside spice, that's where you get it on your tongue. But this one I don't. It's just very kind to your tongue, but these lovely flavours coming through. Interesting. But we're of course going to try the Wee Beastie as well. And of course the Wee Beastie is a 5-year-old that's been matured on ex-bourbon and also oloroso casks. And these both are quite new releases, and the Wee Beastie sits at 57.4% ABV, so slightly higher than the Black. And what they've done with this is really interesting, and I've seen a lot of people talk about it online. Putting a 5-year-old on a bottle is usually slightly frowned upon by a lot of people, because a lot of people of course think that older is better, and older tends to be more expensive, so that could be a factor in it as well. But it just depends on what flavours you're looking for, of course, and many of you might already know this, but when you mature whiskey in a cask, if you have a really active cask or you mature in the cask for a really long time, the oak character will give a lot of flavour to the spirits, and sometimes if you have a smoky whiskey you want to obtain a lot of the smoke and you don't want the cask to take over the smoke, or perhaps over time to kind of fade out the smoke. So it's kind of a rule that the younger the spirit is and the less of an active cask you have, the more smoke you're gonna get. So even though you might love a young Islay whiskey, if you try a 30-year-old and you really love the smoke in the young one, you're not going to find the same one. But of course, a 30-year-old can be lovely in its own ways, but it just depends what flavours you like. And I think if someone's going to release a 5-year-old, it's probably an Islay whiskey, because a lot of people know this and they really look for the smoke, and the creators actually said that they were setting out to create Ardbeg's most smoky expression yet. So of course then creating a really young whiskey is a good idea. Some people, when they create something really smoky and they use younger whiskey, don't of course put the age on the bottle. I really like the transparency when I know what age is, because I don't care if it's 3 years and 1 day, or if it's 13 or 30 years. If it tastes good, then that's good whiskey to me. But hopefully, because Ardbeg's now done this, maybe other distilleries will kind of be able to release age statements being younger as well. But of course you never know what they're going to put into it, because they're not really allowed to tell you. It could be 70% 18-year-old and then you put 30% 8-year-old and then you have to put 8 on the bottle. So it's a bit of a tricky one, that. But at least we know that this one's at least 5 years old. And I don't know if you could see at the start, but they are slightly different in colour. The Wee Beastie is a little bit more pale, of course, which has to do with its age probably, and the casks used. And this Black has probably gotten a lot of nice colour from those Pinot Noir casks. But let's have a nose. Yeah, I mean, it's definitely that Ardbeg smoke, the big bonfire. Quite oaky. This one's a little bit more maritime, like a little bit more sea breeze standing on a beach. I really, really long for the day I get to stand on Islay and feel the sea breeze in my hair and have a dram. I'm probably a little bit peat blind because it's not overpowering smoke, which it usually tends to be. It's still quite fruity, like green fruits, probably more apple, and a little bit of that kind of juniper bush floral note. But let's have a taste. Slàinte mhath. Yeah, this is more what you would recognize from maybe an Ardbeg 10. For me, it gives you these fresh notes, like a fruity note, which is kind of a maritime salty fruity note, which kind of gives you this freshness, and then on the tongue you can really feel the smoke. This one feels spicier than the Blaaack. I mean, it is big in its flavours, but that's what you would expect. I don't think, which is a really good thing, that the smoke is overpowering, because I know there's a lot of peat heads out there that just want the smokiest thing possible. And this is smoky. Undoubtedly, it's smoky, but it's not so smoky you can't get anything else. It still has that lovely fruitiness that brings this really mouth-watering feel to it. It has a bit of that kind of ashy, slightly sooty notes in the middle of my tongue, which goes really well with the Ardbeg smoke because it is this big bonfire for me. And a little bit of that kind of maritime influence that reminds me almost of an old Pulteney perhaps. So it's almost looks like oily maritime notes, but it's like slightly salty. I would of course love to hear if you have tried any of these two expressions. Were you lucky enough to try the committee release Blaaack perhaps? Or is there another Ardbeg that is your personal favourite? You know I always have a place in my heart for Ardbeg. I would love to hear your thoughts, and I also want to say a massive thank you to my wonderful Patreons that are best possible people, and they keep supporting me, and that is of course so much appreciated. And of course I need your guys' help because I'm going to buy a bottle and I can't decide, so please help me, but check that out on Patreon. As always, it would make me so happy if you want to leave a thumbs up and perhaps subscribe to my channel if you don't want to miss on any of the videos that are up and coming. But as always, I hope you'll have a wonderful day, and I'll raise another toast to perhaps 2 more years of Swedish Whiskey Girl. I really hope so, because this is so much fun and it's a great way to try some lovely whiskey and to be creative. So slàinte mhath, skål!